first I should explain that Smile Time after 2 years went off. Most of my shows that went off, I never knew to this day why they went off.
Maybe you were never told.
They tell you thanks a lot, it's been nice working with you, and they put something else on. And so what? You're off. Who cares whether you found out the reason? But suddenly, after 2 years, wow, our own network show, we were just two young guys out of work again. And oddly enough, Wendell and I were never able thereafter to find work together. So we went our separate ways, remained friends, but our separate ways professionally. He went back to concentrating on singing. He was also very active in Mormon affairs. He was a Mormon churchman. And so after a few worrisome days, I just got a call out of the blue from one of the fellows at the CBS station and said, we'd like you to come over here and do a late night record show for us. And my heart sank at that. First of all, I was going from network back to local, which is a step in the wrong direction. And secondly, playing records, which I thought was a fate worse than death. But you have to eat. So I accepted the work. And after, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks on the air, I began not consciously thinking it through, but just doing it, playing a little less recorded music and talking a little more. I had no far-seeing plan, whatever. It was just a tendency that emerged. And as soon as that started, the show got better and got popular. And I could tell by the mail and comment on the street and so forth. You can tell when something's working out. They tell you, the world lets you know. So things were going great, and I cut down from about 8 records per show to about 3, and was doing much more talking, more playing the piano. I had a piano moved into the studio, and I would sing and talk about songs that Frank Sinatra had just sung, and I show how they were originally wrote the chorus before the little bits I knew about the music business. And I was very happy. And then one day, Maury Webster called me into his office, and he said, we got a problem. I said, oh, what's that? Because I thought the show was going great. He said, well, you do remember what we hired you to do, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, you're not doing it. And I said, that's true, but I think I'm doing something better. And he said, well, that's always hard to say. He said, the talk around the building is maybe you should just, because people do love to hear those great songs and play more records. So I thought, oh, swell, back in the wrong direction again. And then I did either a brilliant or a dangerous thing. I read Maury's memo. He also sent me a memo about it. I read it on the air. And I said, folks, let me tell you, I just got this. And I read a whole 2-page memo. It couldn't have worked out better. I got what turned out to be a big grocery box, over 400 letters from people, all on my side. Some of them were very angry at him, didn't even know the poor guy. He was a nice guy. And so therefore, after about 4 days of mail deliveries, and I'd seen all the letters were saying the same thing, I walked into his office with the box, and I said, Maury, you got a minute? Yeah. I said, here's mail I've gotten in the last few days. He hadn't been listening to me, so he didn't know why I got it. And I said, I think it'll make sense if you sample it or read a few and you'll see what it is. He said, all right, leave it over there. So a couple of days later, nice ending. It was like Tony LaFrando's Rationality, which helped earlier. He said, you are right. Now, how many bosses ever say that? It's pretty rare. Even when you are right, they don't want to let you know it, So he said, okay, go ahead. He said, but now and then play a little record so, I can win a little piece of the game. And that's how it turned out. And then at that point, the show just took off as an out-and-out comedy show. Initially, we didn't even have tickets. All radio shows that had audiences had tickets for them, still do. But people began to drop down, sometimes just friends. And if you have 5 or 6 people in the studio laughing, they sound like 18 people. It's the sound in the room. And then, of course, once it sounded as if 18 people were laughing, then we got a lot of letters saying, hey, you have an audience now. Can I come down some night? So the thing grew very quickly, just within 3 or 4 months. And at the end of the process, the CBS had moved us into the Studio A, where Jack Benny and the biggies used to do their shows, which seated 1,000 people. So, and we would do 2 shows on a Friday night so I could have Monday off. One was taped and recorded. But it was all straight ahead after that. I didn't have to prove anything to anybody.